Hello and welcome. My name is Mark. This is Riffle Shuffle and Roll, and today you're here to learn how to play and hear a review for a little game called Stellar. For a fully detailed written version of the rules for this game, head over to GameRules.com, link down below. Stellar is a commercial card game for 2 players published by Renegade Game Studios. The key mechanisms and features for this game are hand management and tableau building. The objective for the game is to play your cards in such a way that you earn the most points possible. Out of the box, you will get a rule book, a score pad, a reference card for each player, and an assortment of playing cards. Let's take a look at all the different kinds of playing cards in this game. First, we have 5 row cards. These will be used to designate the areas from which cards will be drawn. Each player will have a set of 12 telescope cards used to create this telescope tableau. This telescope tableau is at the core of the gameplay. Players will be placing cards strategically upon the tableau in order to build up the best score possible for the end of the game. Players will also be placing cards below the tableau on the table in an area called the notebook. Stellar uses essentially a 5-suited deck. The entire stack of cards includes 60 cards, 5 different suits including planets, moons, comets, interstellar clouds, and black holes. Each card has a rank ranging from 1 to 5 and a special card that I'll show you in a moment. And each card also has a star value. The star value varies depending on the rank of the card. Not only does each card include a really nice picture, but an interesting factoid about that particular category. Each suit also has a card that can be ranked 6 or 0. So these cards can be played at the bottom of the suit or at the top, depending on where they are placed. And finally, we have 5 satellite cards. These are essentially wild cards that can be placed anywhere upon the tableau. Begin setup with each player building their telescope tableau. It's most space saving to have players sit across from each other and the tableaus facing in opposite directions. Be sure to leave space below the tableau for the notebook. Cards will be played here. Set up the numbered cards in a column somewhere around the playing space. There will be cards placed under the numbered cards. There are 5 starting celestial object cards, 1 for each suit. They are all the same rank and they all have the same star value. You can tell which of these 5 are for starting the game because they have a diamond in the bottom right corner. Shuffle these cards up and deal 2 to each player. The 5th starter card is put back in the deck with the rest of the celestial object cards. Each player will play 1 of their starter celestial object cards to the top of the telescope tableau. The other card is played down in the notebook. It does not matter which card is played where, because we don't have any cards laid out in the numbered row. So we don't have any way to determine a good strategy for starter placement. This is done purposely so that neither player has an advantage before the game even begins. Each player is then dealt 2 cards as a starting hand. These cards are typically kept secret, but for this demonstration we're going to play with their hands face up. The final step for setup is to place 1 card from the deck under each numbered card. The remainder of the deck is placed beside the row as a draw pile. A player's turn consists of 4 actions. We're going to play that this is player 1, and we're going to move their hand to the center here so you have a better view. The first action a player takes is to choose a card from the row. Once a player chooses a card from the row, they can either play that card in their telescope tableau or down in their notebook. Each section of a player's layout has a different purpose. The tableau up here will offer points based on card placement, and it has its own rules to follow. Cards played to the notebook will allow for score multipliers, and down here, cards will be played according to suit in numerical order. Basically, you want to create runs of cards in the same suit down in the notebook, and then you want to create groups of cards in the same suit up in the tableau. These stars come into play because the more stars you have in a suit, the more points you can potentially earn. Both parts of your layout have to be balanced because you will only earn points if you have cards of that suit in both sections. So if a player chooses to play the card in the telescope, there are some rules governing where they can place it. This player drew the planet card. If there was already a planet card in the telescope tableau, they would have to play this card in such a way that it is touching the previously played card in the same suit. This player does not have a planet card in its tableau. They only have a black hole card. So they can place this planet card anywhere they want. It can even go up here right up against the black hole card. That's okay. I'm going to place this card right here. It's still in the top section, but I've given myself some space to add other cards of the same suit. Playing a card to the layout, either in the telescope or in the notebook, is the player's second action. Their third action is to play a card immediately from the row. That card is determined by the rank of the card the player just played. This player played a 1. So they must take the card from the 1 slot and immediately add it to their notebook. Now, player 1 has an interstellar cloud card and a moon card in their notebook. 2 different columns have been started. The card you decide to play first will determine which card you play on the second portion of your turn. If a space in the numbered row is empty, the player draws from the top card of the draw pile. So if I were to play a number 2 card here and the 2 spot was empty, I would instead draw a card and immediately play it to the opposite part of the layout. The fourth and final action a player will take on their turn is to refill the numbered row. Do so by flipping the cards over and placing them down in order according to the spaces. So you would need to fill the number 1 slot first, followed by the number 2. That concludes player 1's turn. Play passes to player 2. Play like this continues until both players have filled up their telescope tableau and their notebook. Remember, there are 2 special kinds of cards in this game. The first is the 6-0 card. If a player chooses to play a 6-0 card to the telescope, it always counts as a 6. This is a black hole card, so it would have to be played adjacently to the pre-existing black hole card in this tableau. At the end of the game, when we're figuring out the score, this would count as a 6. When it's played down here in the notebook, it could be played as a 6 or a 0, depending on which is most advantageous for the player. That does not have to be decided until the end of the game. So if you had a black hole column that was a 1, 2, and a 3, you could play this as a 0, and then you would have a run of 4 cards, 0, 1, 2, 3. If you had a run of 3, 4, and 5, you would want to play this as a 6. So that allows for some flexibility. When a 6-0 card is played, instead of drawing a card from one of the rows, you immediately take a card from the draw pile. So you will take the top card from the draw pile and play it to the opposite location in your layout. The second special type of card is the satellite. The satellite is essentially a wild card. It can be placed anywhere on the telescope tableau at any time. It does not matter what card it is placed by. When played down in the notebook, this card counts as the rank in the corner. It's a wild card, but it's a 3. So if you wanted to play it in your moon column, you would have to play it as a 3. Now in the notebook, the telescope can be moved around as you wish. So if all of a sudden you realize, oh, I need to make a bigger run in the interstellar cloud suit, so I'm going to go ahead and move the telescope over to that column. It would not work for this particular example because you already have a 3. When a player draws a satellite from the row, the opposite player can choose to wipe out the entire row and place 5 new cards. Play like this will continue with each player taking their 4 actions per turn until there are 12 cards in the telescope tableau and 12 cards in the notebook. Once each player has 12 cards in their telescope tableau and 12 cards in their notebook, it's time to finish the game with one final turn. Players will still have 2 cards in their hand. They will choose one of the cards and add it to their notebook, placing that card in the appropriate column. The other card is discarded. If at any time the draw pile runs out of cards, simply collect the discard pile and shuffle them up and start a new draw pile. The discard pile will be kind of a rare thing. It only occurs if a satellite has been flipped over and selected from the row. Once the final turn has been taken, it's time to tally up our scores. It's in the scoring part of this game where players will really understand how to play the game. Because if you don't understand how scoring works, you're not going to know where to play your cards. The first part of scoring is to figure out your stars and multiplier score. Essentially, you're going to work through a few steps for each suit. So first, look at your telescope tableau and start with the planet suit. What you're going to do is count up the stars on all of your planet cards. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 stars worth of planet cards here. Then you come over to your notebook and find your longest run of cards in that suit. So here I have the 1, 3, and then the 6, 0 card. Now I can actually take that 6, 0 card and put it at the beginning. I want to count it as a 0. That creates a run of 2 cards. That is my multiplier. So I have 6 stars times a multiplier of 2. 6 times 2 is 12. In the planet section of your score booklet, you would write 12 points. Then you would do that for each suit. One thing I want to point out, here I have a black hole value of 4 stars. I do not have any black hole cards in my notebook, so that's a multiplier of 0. 4 times 0 is 0 points. I would earn 0 points for the black hole suit in my tableau. Go through each card type or card suit and figure out your stars times your multiplier score and document that in the score pad. The next portion of our score that we're going to find is what's called the section majority. So your telescope is broken down into 3 sections. The top section is the top 5 cards. The middle row are these 3 cards here, and then the bottom is made up of these 4 cards. You add up the rank value of all the cards in that section. So 5, 8, 12, 13. Both players do this, and whoever has the highest total in that section wins 10 points. If there is a tie, neither player earns 10 points for that section. If at any point a player is unable to legally play a card on their telescope because they are unable to play a suit adjacently to a suit that's already played, that card is played face down. If that occurs, that card has a rank of 3. So in this top section, it would still count as a 3-point card. Place the section majority scores in the columns beside that section title. Finally, each player has an opportunity to earn a diversity bonus. The diversity bonus is earned if the player managed to play 1 card of each type in their telescope tableau. So this player has the black hole, a planet, the moon, an asteroid card, and the interstellar cloud card. They have all 5 types in their telescope tableau, so they would earn the 10-point bonus. Both players can earn this if they manage to have all 5 card types in their telescope. The player with the highest score at the end of the game is the winner. And that's how you play Stellar. I'm going to dive into the review here, and I'm going to go over different facets of the game. At the end, I'll give you my overall rating. So first, let's talk about the art, the design, and the theme. I think the artwork for this game is fantastic. I really dig the theme. I like the idea of building a cosmic layout on a tableau, and I love how on every card there's a little bit of information. It teaches you while you play. So while you're sitting there, if you're waiting for your opponent to take their turn, you can read your cards and learn something new. I think that's really cool. I would have never thought that you could take something like stargazing and turn it into a fun game. And I have to commend Renegade Game Studios for really maximizing the potential of what this game has to offer. The card is jam-packed with beautiful artwork. The rank of the card, the star value of the card, the suit of the card, and a little factoid. I think that's really cool. And they could have put a little less effort into it and maybe got away with it. But I think just paying attention to little details like that makes this game definitely worth the price tag. Gameplay is really good. So it's interesting though, and I might say the only downside to this game is the teaching of the game. Because if you just start with teaching them how to place cards, then they're not really getting it because you don't understand why you're placing the cards where you place them. It's almost arbitrary, like, okay, I put one here at the top of in the telescope tableau, so the next card automatically goes down in the notebook. And why did I put that card there? What's the difference with all these spots? Or what's the difference between all the spots in the telescope? And all of those questions aren't answered. They're not answered until you get to the scoring portion of the game. It's when you find out how scoring works that you realize the importance of card placement and balance between the telescope and the notebook. But if you start off by explaining how the scoring works, then they're going to be overwhelmed because it is quite the process for tallying up your score. It's literally a multi-step process where you go through each suit and you do a lot of math. And then you go through each section of your tableau and you determine who's the winner of the majority points. And then you determine the diversity bonus for each player. And you don't do any of that until the end of the game. So the whole time you're playing, you have to think about card balance between the layout, and you have to think about getting all 5 suits, not only in your telescope tableau, but in your notebook. You need to think about putting cards with higher star values up in your telescope, because it would be a waste to put them down below in the notebook, but you might have to in order to get a suit down in the notebook as well. Because you could build a beautiful layout that has the potential to earn a lot of points up in the telescope, but if you don't get one of those suited cards down in the notebook, you don't earn any points for that. So there's a lot to think about. I think the teach is possibly a little difficult unless you can get them to understand that the first time through, you really just need to get cards down. Don't worry about why you're placing cards in certain spots. Just get cards down. Get to that 11th round so they can tally up their score and see how it really works. I'm just afraid that if you start with teaching how to score keep, they're going to be completely overwhelmed. So that's probably my one downside to the game. Other than that, I think it is an excellent game. This is a $20 game, and I think it is 100% worth it. Now, at this time, I have not posted my video for The Fox and the Forest yet. It will not be a positive review of that game. You do not get $15 worth of product in that game. This is a $20 card game, and I believe between the artwork, between the amount of stuff you get in the box, and between the gameplay, that it's worth every penny of that. So finally, with all of that in mind, my overall rating. So I've got 3 levels for rating games. At the bottom, I have don't want to play it. And the next level up, I have want to play it. Meaning, yeah, I'll play it. Somebody else wants to play, I'll play. I'm not going to say no. And finally, at the top of my scale is gotta play it. So this is a game that I'm going to go out of my way to play. I'm going to invite people to play. Now, Stellar sits pretty close to the top as a gotta play it. Of course, ratings change as people play more games and they become exposed to more ideas. Their thoughts and opinions on older games might change a little bit. But for now, based on my experience playing games, especially card games, Stellar is going to be sitting at the top. I want to play this game. I want to get it out. I want to show other people how to play. All right, well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. And if you've already played Stellar and you have your own thoughts about the game, please let me know down below. If you have any questions about how the game is played, post those down below as well, and I'd be happy to answer. All right, well, I will catch you another time. Remember to keep on playing.